Thundercats Roar. So Thundercats Roar was announced. It's coming to Cartoon Network. And it wasn't received that well. So now this is a style, I guess, I'm not familiar with on Cartoon Network about. You look at me like I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't watch Cartoon Network stuff. So you can tell me like what cartoon style is based on. But Thundercats Roar looks like a more comedic look and take on Thundercats.
Yep.
They are puffy, non-cat looking creatures that are anthropomorphic. They have all the same characters. You got Snarf in there. You got Wily Cat, Wily Kit. Those characters. You got Panthro and Chitara, and what's the guy with the whip called? I should know that. I don't. Besides Lion-O, and of course you have the villains there. So it looks like it's faithful in terms of the characters. Like that's proper. There was a little. I guess the intro was released. The intro of the show. They had them. Yeah. Like the animation itself looks good. Like it looks pretty good. It looks like it's hand drawn. Looks like it. I mean, they obviously could be faking it with CG, but it looks like it's hand drawn. It looks like it's kind of following the story. Like they go out on the planet and whatever else, and they fight off Mumra. So that's all fine and good. I guess there's been backlash though against people that actually grew up with Thundercats, and it's like, what the hell is this? And that was one of the same ways. All I just tweeted was they don't like cats at all. They just don't. So it's almost like you're losing that part of it. But to me, it's not so much the issue with the artistic style, which I don't. If that's what's the popular style on these Cartoon Network shows, you can explain it to me. These sort
There's
of
nothing to explain. It's just the current. It's a current popular style.
It's just sort of, I guess, more kiddie style, exaggerated body parts or.
There have been popular styles in anime. There was a specific style that was popular in the 90s. There's various types of animation styles that have been more popular throughout the United States. I mean, yeah, it looks samey, and I'm not a fan of it, but it's just a fucking style of animation.
Sure.
I mean, Jesus Christ, that's all it is.
That's one thing. Okay, I'm looking at a bunch of other ones here. That's the one thing. The other thing, though, is that, is now, what is the tone of this? How far removed is the tone of this show versus the original or the 2011 iteration? And that's where I think bothering me the most, because obviously this is a totally different tone. And it's obviously going to be for a different audience, a younger audience. So, yeah, even looking at, people went nuts when they released the image, like the poster image. And yeah, it's all exaggerated. It's the same characters, though. There's Panthro. There's the lizard guy, I forget his name. Chitara, the beak guy. I used to have some of the toys, but I only had like 3 of the toys. They were expensive. I won them on Seaside Heights Boardwalk, actually. I won a couple. There was a stand with candy, and then they had Thundercats figures for some reason. So I was like, oh my God, Thundercats. Anyway, so my point about when you're doing these remakes or reboots is that there's almost, if you're going to be so off in terms of the tone, why bother dredging up the old property versus starting a new one? Because you're not going to attract any younger people who didn't grow up with the Thundercats necessarily, because they didn't hear about it. You're only going to potentially risk really pissing off people that might have looked into it if it was in the same style or in the same tone. So it's a huge risk and gambit, and it could be something that a lot of people are turned off and won't even check it out. Even if it's quality, they're going to be like, I'm not even going to get on board with this because this is going to be a joke, and it's going to treat a franchise I love like an absolute joke. And that's more the sentiment that I've seen, or at least I've taken away from this, from Thundercats Roar. It could be a fun show. It absolutely could be an entertaining show. It could be fun and goofy and everything else, but to a lot of people, that's not why they like Thundercats. It just isn't.
Counterpoints. The reason why they do reboots is because they don't have to create any new characters. They already have.
It's not a counterpoint. Okay, I understand. But yeah.
They get the structure.
They have something that's been well established.
They have an established structure. They have an established characters. They have good guys. They have bad guys. That's why. It's simple. These cartoons are mostly there to sell toys, to sell merchandise, to entertain. Kids aren't going to be interested because they don't know the Thundercats. But that's the same as starting fresh with a new property. So why wouldn't they go back and grab something that they've already worked on? It makes sense. These are for kids. The fact that we have an attachment to them is fine. Really, they don't need to worry about pissing off adult fans. They don't. They need something that works for kids.
So isn't that an indictment of the state of children's entertainment?
Sure.
I mean, a huge indictment, because
It's also an indictment of us being way too fucking attached to the Thundercats.
hey, I love the Thundercats. I'm not getting into tizzy because of this. I'll just never watch it probably, or I'll check it out a little. Maybe I'll see the little toys and think, okay, that's cute.
And that's exactly it.
But these were when we grew up with these cartoons, they weren't quote unquote for kids necessarily. They were adults could watch them. Adults could watch Transformers or GI Joe or Thundercats or even Mask, because they had adult looking characters and a lot of times mature themes in some of these episodes. Especially in stuff like GI Joe. I'm not as familiar with Transformers, but some of this stuff was pretty heady back then. So I guess it's an indictment on not trusting kids to be able to handle the same sort of entertainment that we did. And that is a back in my day thing, because it absolutely is. Because
but that's not to say that this Thundercats won't do the same thing. Shows like Adventure Time and Regular Show look like kids stuff and are made for kids, but also deal with heady themes and relationships and death. And it's just a different era. I can't fault them for falling back on something that's been used before, because it's already in the pop culture lexicon and it's already there ready for them to use, and they need to make more children's shows. I'm tired of adults acting like everything has to be protected for them when we live in a commercial society and this sort of shit's just gonna happen. We can't keep gatekeeping stuff for kids. These TV shows are becoming like comic books, where this stuff just gets reused over and over. Fresh iterations are going to come out. Some are going to suck. Some aren't going to suck. And this is just how it is. We have what we like. We don't have to like every version of it. And we have to realize that sometimes they're going to take the easier way out. Without even seeing this, some people can be sick of the art style, and that's totally understandable. But without seeing how they attack this, you can't say anything about the story based on an art style.
So is this going to be potentially turning to something like with the next generation of My Little Pony, where it's like you had the original version, they have a new version that's totally different in tone, but now you capture it for the younger generation. So at least you're passing it on.
Right, exactly. I don't know.
I just think it's strange to use Thundercats to do this. I think it is. I just think it's not like you couldn't come up with something in this vein. It comes back to laziness. Let's not create our own characters. Let's not try to build our own worlds. Let's get probably people that are, I think that one of the showrunners I saw was actually really a huge Thundercats fan, is familiar with it. So stories are pre-written. Interactions are basically pre-written. Personalities are pre-written. Most of the work is done for you. Coming up with the characters, it's done. It's finished.
Well, then, I mean, at this point, we're all assuming that the story's going to be shit, and we don't know that.
Oh, I didn't say anything about the story.
Well, if the story's good, then really it doesn't really matter what it looks like.
I'm just saying the tone has turned off people, and it's like
tone? We don't know what the tone is beyond the picture.
Beyond the pictures and the intro video is going to be comedic first and foremost. And then while the cartoon obviously had comedic elements with Snarf and everything else, interactions, there was always comedic elements to even Transformers or to G.I. Joe or to Mask. That was always secondary to, the action in the actual plot. God, I haven't watched Thundercats in so long. I used to love that show.
I never liked it, so I have no real interest in this either.
Well, the animation was beautiful. Out of all those cartoons in the 80s, you could argue that Thundercats arguably had one of the best animation of all.
Sure, it probably looked
fantastic back then. They only did, I think, a couple of seasons. Let's see that. People were saying, well, you didn't watch the 2011 version.
Yes, and I also agree with that. People want to get high and mighty on it. Well, where were you the last time it happened? And I know Cartoon Network put it in a shitty slot, but they probably would not have put it in a shitty slot if anyone had turned in for the first 10 episodes of it, which wasn't in a shitty slot.
Or maybe it didn't sell enough toys and they buried it.
Right. So
But that's not a good excuse to get rid of a show, is selling toys, at least to me. Yes, they're related. I get that, but...
Or no one tuned in.
Or both. Or I think I watched 1 or 2 episodes of Thundercats. I'm not the biggest Thundercats fan.
People had that shot, and if this one doesn't succeed, then great, they failed again. And if it does succeed, and it succeeds because they sold toys, then they succeeded in their mission.
But what if people watch the 2011 TV series and still don't like this? You can't assume that no one watched the 2011 series.
No, Vonnie did. I mean, people did, but it got... All I'm saying is it doesn't fucking matter.
Sure. I just think people would rather saw it. Like, I think people were pissed that version wasn't continued. Well,
people were, because in hindsight, everyone there were people who watched it then, and I had a bunch of people in the store who told me it was good. And I watched a little bit of it, and it was. but there's no guarantee that if they brought it back like that, it would do any better than this.
Sure.
What is their actual target market? Is it going to reach what they want it to reach? If it does, then congrats. And if it doesn't reach you and they don't care, then fuck off.
How many Thundercats episodes were there now? I did not know there were that many. I thought maybe it was on for 5 years. 85 through 89. Okay. I thought it was only on for a couple years. I don't remember watching it for that long. Wow. That's more than they had G.I. Joe episodes, 130 episodes. Wow.
It's depressing when people like Pixel Dan try to talk about it and have like an adult conversation about it on Twitter, and he just, he has to sign off because he can't handle all the freaking negativity surrounding it.
Sure. Like you could, like I said, I don't have
it's gross. It's fucking garbage.
What do you mean people are just being toxic about it and being like,
just being
ruin my childhood?
Yeah.
Well, 130 episodes. I gotta watch some of these. I've probably only seen about 30 or so episodes. It was not like on my rotation like G.I. Joe was, or even He-Man back in the day. Oh, okay, it was 4 seasons. Was there a final episode? There's got to be a final episode. Yes, I think there was a final episode. Cool. They presented a somewhat legitimate finale for the complete series, so that's good. Because fucking didn't get that with G.I. Joe. That's for damn sure. So, yeah, don't piss me off about that. Your shitty fucking movie ending and going to dick and screwing over Sunbow Animation. Sorry. The dick G.I. Joe ones are horrendous compared to the Marvel Sunbow ones. Like, they're awful. Sorry. All right, so I probably will just check it out of curiosity, but it's not like I'm not really the Cartoon Network humor type no matter what. So, all right.